Last time on
Unqualified Critics.
In part 1 of this video, I covered the simpler light gun cabinets that I think we can expect for release as early as holiday 2020 from Arcade1up. But here comes the good stuff for 2021 and beyond, which we now know is when Arcade1up plans to launch more modern 3D polygon-based games. These games, of course, require more expensive hardware, but we know this is on Arcade1up's roadmap. They've told us as much as costs continue to come down for technology, as is always the case. And just like with the last video, we're breaking the predictions down based on 3 key factors: licensing attainability, name recognition, and the ability to bundle multiple games that fit the theme from one licensor. Those are the 3 key elements that Arcade1up looks at when picking games, so that's what we're going to look at for our predictions. Now, I've said this before, and I know for many people that own this cabinet, they feel the same way. Golden Tee is one of the favorite Arcade1up releases of all time. It was so very well done. The cabinet looks great, it plays even better, and it's got infinite replayability. The light gun game that you could think of as a cousin to Golden Tee is Big Buck Hunter. It's made by the same company, Incredible Technologies, and we know 2 things about this right off the bat. Number 1, Arcade1up has the licensing relationship already in place to make this happen. And number 2, Arcade1up likes appealing to the Golden Tee audience of gamers. They may not have played in arcades like you and I did as much, but they have played arcade games. They just played them in bars. And instead of Street Fighter, it was Golden Tee. And instead of House of the Dead, it was Big Buck Hunter. These games' popularity is undeniable. And I think a lot of us turned our nose up at Golden Tee when it was first announced. I hadn't played it much before I bought mine from Arcade1up, and part of the reason I bought it, to be honest, was just the novelty of the light-up marquee and having it look cool next to the pool table. But like many of you, I was surprised to find this ended up being one of my favorite cabinets. So based on that, I welcome a Big Buck Hunter cabinet. These games appeal to a huge audience for good reason. They're challenging enough to be absolutely addictive and can be replayed infinitely. And don't even get me started in if we get online leaderboards. That would be so sweet. But they're also so easy to pick up for the first time. So if you have friends over, or you have non-gamer friends or family that you're hanging out with, and they might not be interested in burger time, but they see a Big Buck Hunter, they're going to pick up that piece, because that's just a game that begs to be played. It doesn't matter who you are. So when we look at our 3 criteria, on the licensing front, absolutely check. Arcade1up has worked with Incredible Technologies before, and I would bet, I don't have any inside information on this, but I would really bet Golden Tee sales were successful. Just based on the cost of the cabinet over time, it hasn't been clearanced out in many cases like a lot of the cabinets have, and in fact, it still commands a $500 price point at many stores, even as of recording this video. Name recognition. Everyone has heard of Big Buck Hunter, including non-gamers. So people, most of you watching this video, you're probably gamer heads, but for people outside, Big Buck Hunter is still a huge name. And on the bundle front, I believe, and you can let me know in the comments, I haven't been able to confirm this, but I believe the first 3 Big Buck games were made with the same engine, so they should be identical to emulate. That would give us Big Buck Hunter Shooter's Challenge, and Big Buck Hunter 2. And that would be a great lineup. 3 games that all fit the same motif, they all use the same controls. That'd be an awesome cab. And again, does it pass the Walmart test? Would Walmart want to pick this up? Yeah, they 100% would want to pick this up. The next cabinet is the Big Buck Hunter for gamers, and that is House of the Dead. You know they're going to make this game. They have to make this game. Since Arcade1up already works with Sega, unless something goes very wrong with those upcoming releases, which I don't expect, I think they're going to be successful, especially Golden Axe. But this cabinet should be good to go. They get tons of requests for this. I see it all the time in my comments videos. You see it in social media. And that's what a lot of people said once they landed the Sega license for the first time. It was, holy shit, we could get House of the Dead now. It has to be one of the best-selling arcade light gun cabinets of all time. There's just no question about name recognition. It's a very different audience from Big Buck Hunter, but I think it's a huge audience too. And of course, with all the sequels, it's super clear we have plenty of games here to bundle together. Now, House of the Dead 1 and 2 are required. This cabinet would have both of them, I'm sure. It would need to have both of them. They're going to be similar to emulate, so I don't see why not. I believe House of the Dead 3 would be fundamentally similar to emulate too, so I think we're going to get 3. It's a larger game. I think that was the first one where they introduced the branching paths element. It's been a long time since I played these guys, to be honest, but yeah, I remember playing House of the Dead 2, by the way, back on my Dreamcast with the light gun. That was sweet, but obviously these games have been released and re-released a ton of times over. I think 1, 2, and 3 would be a great package. I think that's where the they cut it off. I don't think we're going to see House of the Dead 4. House of the Dead 4 had better graphics, higher resolution, way more polygons. That's going to take more hardware to emulate, but I don't see it translating into more cabinet sales. Would any of you not buy this cabinet because 4 isn't included? I'm thinking probably not. 2 is really the big name here, and giving us 3 gives us a little more replayability, so that seems like a good package to make. The next title that I expect Arcade1up to release eventually, and I'm thinking 2021 is going to be a good time for this, is Time Crisis. This is up there with House of the Dead and Terminator 2 in terms of just tons of fan requests, a rabid fan base. These are critically acclaimed games, and there are tons of sequel on offer to bundle together. The one issue is Arcade1up would have to provide a pedal for each player in addition to a light gun. Now, on one hand, that fulfills their strategic directive to give us games with unique controls. But on the other hand, that's 2 pedals and 2 guns, and every little bit adds to the cost. And also, I'm a little leery of plastic pedals. You just wonder how long they would last. But, you know, a lot of us have bought racing setups for home consoles, and in most cases, unless you're getting the real expensive stuff, those are plastic. So I guess it should probably be okay. Either way, they're going to have to figure that out for racing cabinets anyway. I guess they could reuse it here. But that would be the only reason I could think of that we wouldn't get a Time Crisis, because it does belong to Namco. Arcade1up already has a relationship with them, having released several cabinets and with more to come, like that Pac-Man 40th. And Namco is just not shy about licensing their properties. For name recognition, as with every other title, the reason this is in this list, this is a top-selling cabinet. And even if Aunt Ethel, who works in purchasing at Walmart, has never heard of Time Crisis, which could be the case, all you have to do is show her the number of sequels and the massive sales volume of arcades who have bought Time Crisis cabinets over the years, despite the fact they're huge, take up a lot of room, and are very expensive. For bundling, I say give us Time Crisis 1, 2, and 3. 1 and 2 would be fine. Again, like House of the Dead, I think people would buy this just to play Time Crisis 2. But I think we could get the first 3 before we get into even heavier processing power and a more costly PCB. Time Crisis 4 is again where I think we start to see a cutoff where things would get considerably more expensive, and I don't know that they'd sell many more cabinets for Time Crisis 4. Now, if they do Time Crisis, what they need to do is allow for 2 cabinets to be linked together so we can play against each other. And I've not seen any evidence that they're planning that. There's been nothing in any of the leaks over the last year to suggest this, but it seems like a no-brainer. And I find myself wondering where I'm going to find room in my house to put either 2 racing cabs or 2 shooting cabs side by side, but I'm going to have to do that eventually, because how badass would that be? I mean, that really would complete a home arcade. Speaking of 2 players, the next cabinet is not one I expect them to ever release, but man, I wish they would, and so I'm just going to do my small part to lobby for this. It's a game called Too Spicy. Why I don't think it'll come out? Number 1, piss poor name recognition. Many of you may not have even heard of this cabinet. It did not sell well in the West at all. I think the only place I ever saw one was GameWorks, which Sega owned, and Too Spicy is a Sega game, so it happened to be there. The game was awesome. It's basically a mashup between Time Crisis and Street Fighter with Gears of War thrown in. On one hand, you have pedals like Time Crisis so you can leave cover, but like Gears of War, you're actively moving between cover points with those pedals. You're not just popping up, you're actually moving around the map, either to the left or to the right. How's it like Street Fighter? Well, it's designed for 2 people to play head to head. It pits player 1 against player 2. It's the only arcade light gun game I know of that involves playing against a live opponent, and this game was super addictive. There's a single player mode there too, but if you gave us online play or allowed for local area network connection between 2 cabinets, this game would be awesome and it would melt your face off. Any of you Kazies who've never heard of this game, get with the program, because if they release this thing, you're gonna have to buy it. I'm gonna need people to play against online. But seriously, Too Spicy, it's a stupid name, no success in the US, but man, this game is absolutely freaking awesome. It also, I think, would be very demanding to emulate. It's a very good looking game with fairly large environments for a shooting cabinet. So again, I don't think it's realistic. So those are my predictions for light gun cabinets that we can actually expect from Arcade1up. And if you look at the previous video, we're looking for this holiday, but for this video, the more advanced games, we're talking holiday 2021. I know that's a ways out, but I guarantee Arcade1up has their antenna up looking for community feedback on which titles to really go after. So what are your picks? Let me know in the comments below. And also, would you rather get a light gun cab or a racing cab? I don't think you're gonna have to pick between the 2. Either way, buckle up, because both are gonna be coming. And on my next video, I'll talk to you about the racing cabinets I think we can expect from Arcade1up. Thanks so much for watching, guys. Stay safe out there. Hit like if you enjoyed the video, and if you enjoyed the video enough or have been watching the channel, subscribe and enable all notifications. I would very much appreciate it. And to all my subscribers who listen and comment regularly, thank you so much. It means a lot. Take care, guys. Talk to you again real soon.
Beam lights paint the skies.